Now, the makeup was extremely good. They were, as I've mentioned already, they were all dressed to look like zombies. A lot of gray makeup, hair dyed gray. What I didn't quite understand, though, was the women didn't have either as much makeup, or there definitely was not any gray in their flesh. Maybe it was just to determine the genders, maybe in this world just there's a bigger difference between male and female, or maybe just it was decided the women looked better without the silver makeup. I don't know what the reasoning behind it was, but I found that one a little interesting. I probably, if I were directing it, I would have had them a little more uniform, although it is nice to have a little bit of variety. As for the acting itself, everyone did a very good job. As I've already mentioned, we had, they had an understudy that had 10 hours to learn the play, and she did extremely well. Did not miss any lines. She had plenty of energy. She got into character well. Back to the transitions and whatnot. What I really liked about this was all the characters, instead of going tableau, like you stop and don't move when your scene's over, they continued moving fluidly, especially the keeper, because he's the one observing, and if you pay attention, just looking to the far left-hand top corner where he was, I should probably be going this way for you, yeah. You see him looking around. He kind of looks at the audience sometimes with curiosity. He's the only one that knows that the audience is there, because he has the ability to view everything within the realm. He starts looking with curiosity. He seems like an observer, and you can tell because he's looking at the actions going on, cocking his head to the side, looking somewhat intrigued by the mess that he seems to have a slight bit of control over. The only exception to these transitions that I did not like was during one scene it ends with a fight, and they continue fighting and moving around, and that's distracting everyone from the main action. That is the only issue. Who else was... the two guys trying to escape, they would run off stage, screaming, disappear. Then a scene would go, or two, and then they'd come back, crash into each other, continue the action. Or they would be trying to dig out of their hell hole with a hammer and a stomping foot, because you gotta remember, the one guy's got no arms. Then you have the woman who has lost her child. She's searching desperately. She's crawling around the ground. At one point, she's hungry. Her husband goes and looks for food as another scene goes on. And you see these movements, but with the exception of the fight, it did not take your eye away from the action of those who had a scene, and it was very well done. And you could still look with your peripherals and still see constant movement. And that was one of the most interesting things within the entire production, because you didn't get this feeling of everything stops so that this can happen, everything stops so that can happen. It was all a case of the whole thing flowing as one whole. And it was really interesting to watch. So, if Ian O'Brien ever gets his play fully published, because it's not officially published, they had granted permission to the high school students who were performing it. If he ever gets it published, if he ever puts it in an actual major production, say at the Cannon Theatre in Toronto, or takes it to, I don't know, I guess it wouldn't be Broadway in New York because Broadway only does musicals, but something like that, a major venue, I would highly recommend that you go see it. And I'm actually going to be talking with Ian O'Brien to get possible permission to film his play myself and put it here on YouTube. It's like 45 minutes, so it'll end up being 4 or 5 part. But it is very, very much worth seeing. And I will do everything in my power so that you, the viewer, get the opportunity to see it.